Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to a new episode of the Global Dawah Movement Show. Today's show, we're going to be discussing, I believe, one of the most important topics while giving dawah, especially street dawah. Many people have many different perspectives. They're thinking about different things when you're trying to engage them. How do you get them in the right mindset to think about God, purpose of life, Islam, hereafter, and these sort of very important issues? On the show, I have with me the brother Imran Hussain. Wa alaikum salam. How are you doing today?
Very good, bro. How are you?
So, Imran,
Yes.
we don't want to go on too long here. I'm going to give you 5 minutes, starting now. How do you get somebody, they're walking on a high street, how do you get them to think about Islam, God, purpose? Get them to think these questions are important.
Okay. So quickly, like you said, the purpose of life is a very important topic. Generally, when you speak to people on the streets, most of them are not really interested in sort of really complex philosophical arguments. Most of them may be going through something in their lives. Maybe they're questioning about the purpose of their lives. Who are they? Where have they come from? Where are they going? Right? So it's a very, very interesting way of starting our conversation. This is why we say, "Excuse me, sir, madam, what's your purpose?" That's one way we start the conversation. Now, as far as purpose is concerned, without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without God, there is no real ultimate purpose in life. Right? Because think about this. If you deny God, what are you left with? You're left with a reality, a world, a human being or a self, which is a result of prior physical causes.
That's fine, but I could just say, well, my purpose,
Yeah.
I make it to help people.
Yeah.
I make my purpose to do good.
Yeah.
My purpose is to get a PhD.
Yeah.
So we can make our purpose.
Sure,
It's not a
but
big issue.
Exactly. My neighbor can say his purpose is to drink a liter of milk every single day.
Right.
Right?
Okay.
So this is what you call relative purpose, or purpose we give ourselves. If we were to look at it in a very crude way, it's self-delusion basically. Right? Because we're making things up because we don't know what our ultimate purpose is. We're essentially just giving ourselves purpose. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing here. Why am I here? Who made me? What's this all about? Well, you know what? Let me get myself busy. Maybe I can make my purpose giving charity, or becoming a philosopher, or becoming a professor, whatever it may be. Yeah? This is self-ascribed purpose. This is not ultimate purpose. And this is why without God there is no ultimate purpose. Because without God, all you, me, and everything else is an accident. We're an accident of this, lengthy process where just random physical particles and atoms and all of these things have been whizzing around for hundreds of thousands of years, for millions of years, colliding into each other, and accidentally this has produced what we see today within the universe. If this is the case, then there's no real ultimate purpose. It's just an accident. You're just an accident waiting to die, basically. Right? So this is the sort of morbid, sad reality of denying God.
And the really thing which I find interesting is that most people don't really think of it that way.
Yeah.
So, some people give the example of a chocolate bunny. What's the difference between you and a chocolate bunny?
Yeah.
You're just having chemical reactions in your brain. A chocolate bunny, if you smack it in the head, its head breaks off. It's just a rearrangement, just like we have a rearrangement of ourselves.
Yeah.
So what is the real meaning? That's an interesting way of putting it about purpose. But say somebody doesn't even want to think about purpose, or they think they're too young to think about these questions.
Yeah.
How do you make them think that even this question is important before going into what it is?
Interesting question. Why don't you give us a quick answer to that?
Well, I have an answer, but
I want to know what your answer is,
okay.
because you asked the question.
Well,
Interesting question, so it stems from somewhere.
Yes, it does.
Yes.
The way I think about it is, the Chinese have a saying, before you put something in a cup, you empty the cup.
Yeah.
Right? So if a cup's full, you put something in, it's not going to go in.
Sure.
So if the person's already thinking about, oh, there's a Muslim, he's probably going to speak to me about God, I'm just going to refute all his arguments.
Yeah.
Or I just want to go to, Primark, and I'm not interested in talking to him. What you have to do is you have to sort of create a paradigm shift in the person's mind. Get them to think about, to get them to think their mind, get them to change their mindset about the world.
Right.
So if you just say to them something like, yes, we have our purposes, but will you live forever?
Yeah.
What do you think is going to happen to you after you die? Sure. The thing about death is, it actually is an equalizer.
Yeah.
So I saw an interesting picture on Facebook the other day of a multi-millionaire from the Middle East, and they showed his grave. It's just like the most simplest grave in the world. So it doesn't matter who you are, you're eventually going to end up there. And that gets people into the right state of mind. And I think that's a good segue to then bring it on to purpose of life, God, and these things. But that's what I would do. You have 1 minute, by the way.
You're right. And just to sum up, I think the question of purpose is almost everyone asks it at some point. Mark Twain, for example, a famous writer, he once wrote that the two most important days in your life are when you're born and when you discover why you're born. Right? So when you find out what your purpose is.
Yeah.
And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran gives us our purpose, which is to worship Him, and it's that simple, right? So this is something you have to communicate to people. Obviously in future shows we can go into how do you communicate worship, what is worship from the Islamic perspective, and we've done this in previous shows as well. But the key thing is to get people to think, and when you get those cogs turning, then you can give them effective da'wah, basically, inshallah. So I don't know how we're for time, but I think I'm pretty much done.
That's about 5 minutes done, so that's a really good, concise answer. And I think a lot of people watching this today, at least one thing you can take away is that mindset is key in dawah, not just your own mindset, but the mindset of the recipient of the dawah. And you need to be aware of their state before you give them the message. So it's not like you treat everybody the same, like they all just came off an assembly line and you're just giving them the same message. You have to be intelligent.
Connect with the people.
Connect with the people, essentially. Jazakallah khair for coming on the show. Just before we end, we do actually have a special bonus section, Global Dawah News.
Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. So we're here at this point of the show now, which we call Global Dawah Movement News or Global Dawah News, whichever way you want to put it. This is a new segment of the show in which we basically are going to be sharing with you what's going on in the dawah across the globe, right? So every week we're going to look at the top stories, the top news across social media as far as the dawah is concerned, dawah activities are concerned, and we're going to be sharing them with you right here at this spot, basically. And we're going to make it motivational, because the whole point of this is to show you that you can take the knowledge that we discuss on these shows and you can implement it in real life, on the streets, on the ground, basically. So, Brother Saladin, what's hot this week? What's the news this week as far as the dawah is concerned?
Assalamu alaikum. Yes, I've been going through the social media, and this week I saw a really interesting story by a dawah organization in Australia, which is over here.
Right behind me, yeah?
You can see
So
right behind you.
Right behind me there's a little map
of Australia. What was interesting about this story is this organization that's known as iERA.
Okay.
It's a dawah organization that does a lot of street dawah. They focus on comparative religion.
Inshallah.
What they did, and I've never seen this before, they took a tablet and they attached it to a stand.
Yep.
And they took it to the streets where they give dawah. And what they were doing was they were playing the Quran, right, with the translation.
Picture as you're talking to the brothers and sisters.
It's actually this picture here.
So, okay, I've got the wrong picture, haven't I?
It's this picture here.
So go on, carry on talking. So what are they doing? They're basically...
So you can see here, they've set up a stand with the Quran. They've attached a GoPro camera and headphones.
Inshallah.
So they've asked people passing by to listen to the Quran while the translation is being shown on the screen, and to gauge the experience.
Okay, so what they're doing is they've got the iPad or whatever the device is, they've got a camera on top, and the people are basically listening into the Quran.
Yes.
And their reactions have been recorded as they're listening.
And not just listening, also reading the text, the translation.
Okay.
So this is fantastic, because we know the Quran is very powerful when you're out there giving dawah.
Yeah.
So they're going to be releasing a video very soon. So it'll be interesting to see the reactions.
So it's iERA.
iERA, yes.
And I'm sure they've got a Facebook page. We could probably
link
it in
somewhere. If you look on Facebook, you find iERA online, inshallah. So this is this show is all about practical tips you can bring to the dawah from teams across the world. So this is a real practical tip you guys can do. Just get a tablet, load on the Quran, and just let people experience the Quran. Because one of the things that people don't really get to experience is you can use all these rational arguments, but one of the most powerful things is when you listen to the Quran itself, with the correct understanding.
And it's very powerful, because what we can see, brothers and sisters, is that we're taking technology, right, the latest gadgets that we have, and we're being creative with it, and we're using it to share the beautiful message of Islam, right?
Yes.
Who would have thought? Such an amazing idea, right? And 10 years ago this wouldn't be possible.
Yes.
So I guess this opens up the window of opportunity for brothers and sisters across the world who may find it difficult to speak to people, right?
Yes.
So this is a beautiful way. You just set it up, stand back, and let the magic happen, basically. Right?
Yes. And it's very powerful, because if you look at the demographics in Australia, you've got 61% that are Christian. The Muslim population only make up 2.2%, in fact. Right, so it's very small. So you can see here that there's a lot of dawah that needs to be done in Australia. And in fact, I was looking at the history of Australia and Muslims, right? And the Muslims, they came from Indonesia.
Let's see if we can get this on camera.
Which is just here.
Yep.
Right? And they traveled all the way to Australia. And what's interesting about people that are coming to Islam in Australia, you even have Aborigine Muslims now,
Mashallah.
Aboriginal Muslims,
Mashallah.
because they're hearing the message of Islam for the
Yes.
first time.
It's
So this is powerful, you know.
It's powerful. I mean, because see, this is the thing. We're in a bubble, right? So wherever the people watching this are, respectively, in their areas and their
Yes.
parts of the world, they think the dawah is very close. If it's only happening in the area, but what we're seeing is it's a global movement, really,
Yes.
right? And subhanAllah, we've got something exciting coming as well. I'm sure Brother Subur will be on next week's news segment and be sharing what's going on, what we're doing. Something
Yes.
to do with a amazing new campaign, which is going to be global. And that's what we're going to say. It's going to be taking place this summer, inshallah.
Inshallah,
Right?
very exciting.
So anything else? Any other exciting bits and pieces from Facebook, social media?
No, I mean, like, just for this week that we just covered this story, and inshallah, you know, in future weeks we'll be covering stories from all across the world.
Yeah.
We want to highlight the dawah activities that are, you know, happening across the globe.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the final sort of message I would leave you guys with is look, it's very simple. Just get involved in the dawah. It's not difficult. You don't need to learn, you know, complex arguments. You just need to go and share the message of
There's some
Tawheed.
brothers and sisters in this camera
Okay.
as well, so right in there, bro.
Yeah, so just go out there and share the message of Tawheed. It's very simple.
Very simple.
And if you guys are in London, we're in Leicester Square every Wednesday. Come and join us, and just simply get involved in the dawah.
I guess that's it, brothers and sisters. Very easy. As you can see, a very creative way of giving dawah. And in Leicester Square, brothers play the Quran on the speakers.
Yes,
Right? So
yes,
wherever you are, look at your situation, look at the area you're giving dawah in, and just become creative from that perspective and just share the message of Islam. Jazakallah khair, Brother Salahuddin. Till next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.